Welcome to the Craft and Biz of Acting, the place to go to learn what they didn't teach you in acting school. When you're looking for the next step in your acting career, we've got you covered. With your host, monologue expert, and founder of monologuestogo.com, Joyce Story.
Hello, fellow thespians. You are listening to the Craft and Biz of Acting. I'm your host, Joyce Story, and we're here to explore the nuts and bolts of auditioning and performing. Today's show is coming to you from the offices of the Society of Stage Directors and Choreographers. And today's guest is truly one of the nicest and most remarkable people I am honored to call my friend. Michael Wilson is the award-winning stage and film director who guided Cicely Tyson in her Tony-winning performance in The Trip to Bountiful. Other Broadway work includes Gore Vidal's The Best Man, starring Candice Bergen, James Earl Jones, and Angela Lansbury. Dividing the Estate, starring Elizabeth Ashley and Gerald McRaney, and Enchanted April, starring Jayne Atkinson and Molly Ringwald. Off-Broadway, he's directed plays by Beth Henley, Arthur Miller, Tennessee Williams, and Lanford Wilson. For his production of Horton Foote's 3-part, 9-hour Orphans Home Cycle, Michael received Drama Desk and Outer Critics Circle Awards. Internationally, he directed Tony Kushner's Angels in America, Parts 1 and 2, for the Venice Biennale. His screen debut was the Emmy-nominated film of The Trip to Bountiful, for which he received a DGA Award nomination. From 1998 to 2011, Michael served as artistic director of Hartford Stage, where he commissioned Chiara Alegria Hudis's Pulitzer Prize-winning Water by the Spoonful. You can learn more about Michael at imdb.com. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Thanks, Joyce. It's great to see you. Great to be with you today.
It is fantastic to have you here because you're one of my favorite people, but you know that. I wanted to talk to you today about the audition process for actors. I think it's really good to get inside the head of a director to know what to expect when you get in that room.
The first thing I would want to share with actors who are wanting to improve their audition skills and their success in the audition room is for you to do a headset change, perhaps. Because this may not be your headset when you walk in the room, but the director, and if the playwright's there, and most often the casting director, they want you to be great. They want you to come in and be the person they're looking for. They're not sitting there in judgment and thinking you're terrible. I mean, all the things that you think they may be thinking, and maybe, you meet a bad apple once in a while. But my experience, myself as a director and my colleagues, we want you to be our star. We are searching for our lead and our whatever role it might be. It might be a supporting part. But I think if you come into the room knowing that that's really the equation, that that's the paradigm, right. Not this thing that, they've got all the control in the room and who am I and I don't have any power. I think it's important that actors give themselves that power and realize we're on a desperate hunt and we want the best match. And, it's always curious as to why a person gets cast. Sometimes it has to do with physical quality. Sometimes it has to do with contrast to other people who have already been cast. There's many imperatives that might drive that. But I think that's a great thing for actors to have in their minds, because I think it just helps them, it gives them a positivity.
You want them to succeed.
Absolutely. Their success is our success. The other thing is that, I started out as an actor. So I feel, I can feel the excruciating pain.
The angst.
Yeah, the angst that auditions can be. And so I actually I learn a lot from actors from talking with them before and after they do their piece or they do their side. I'll talk to them about where are you from? Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to school? What you been up to lately? And sometimes I'll learn more about who they are and what's going on, and something might spark with me from that conversation than whatever the monologue or scene they may have prepared. And that's something else to share to an actor, just knowing that what may appear as chit-chat is not all chit-chat. Again, it's my interest in you. I'm wanting to get to know you. I'm wanting to see if you might reveal more about yourself. It's also my way of trying to put you at ease so that out of that comfort, you might feel braver.
Right.
So it's all about feeling brave in the room.
Right. And you do the best work you can possibly do because you feel more connected or just more relaxed.
When you feel like there's someone there that's not only receptive, that's actually, all right, let's knock it out.
Right.
You know? All right, so having been an actor in my early days, sometimes when I can cast a play and not have an actor audition, I love doing that. If I know that that actor or actress is right for the part, and particularly those that I have a long work history with. And it's interesting, you mentioned The Best Man, which I think we had 21 actors in it. I didn't have one audition.
Really?
Yep, I cast it all, and that's very unusual on Broadway.
Wow.
Trip to Bountiful, which had, I think, maybe 15 actors. Okay, Cuba came in and read for me, because I don't think Cuba Gooding Jr. had done a play.
Ever?
No, well, maybe in high school or something.
Wow.
So he came in, we met, and then it turned into a reading, and he was lovely, so dear. He's a wonderful man, Cuba. But that was the only audition.
Wow. And it was basically a selected audition.
Yes, and that was a meeting that just turned into it. That's the other thing. If you're ever in one of those situations where, and I know this is, being shared with actors at all levels in their career. Some are just starting out. Some maybe have been doing this for a while. But if you're asked to meet with the director and playwright, of course do that. But then if they say, hey, you want to toss something around and you didn't think you were going to just know that could very likely happen. And it's not meant to be a threat. And it's actually something I think that's in your favor, because it's showing more interest from us in you, and it's giving us a chance. It's not always how you perform. It's also, how do we work together?
Right.
Are we listening to each other? Are we connected?
Right. When you say toss something around, do you mean you throw them a piece of script and say, please read this?
All right, well, I'm just going back to Cuba Gooding Jr. In that situation, it was supposed to be a meeting only, and that's what the agents and managers had dictated. But I went ahead and rolled the dice and said, well, now that you're here, we've had a nice conversation. Do you want to just read this scene with Jessie May? Or do you want to read this scene with Mother Watts? And he's like, of course, yes, And I'm sure he was nervous, but he went with it. And I just think that's a good thing.
Right.
I'm encouraging that. Again, it's about positivity.
Right.
So one of the things I guess I'm saying is, in terms of improving your audition and how to get in the room, it's finding directors and writers that you enjoy working with and build these relationships. So maybe you're going to get into a situation where you're not having to audition as frequently as you thought you were going to have, because you've now, in a way, become part of an extended company or family of artists that work together again and again and again. To me, that is the beautiful, blessed thing. And that's what I was able to do in those 2 Broadway revivals, alongside Candice Bergen and Eric McCormick and John Larroquette and Michael McKean.
Crazy actors.
Yeah. But, there were a lot of folks that, weren't of that stature. And anyway, it was great. And we became one big company. And that's one of the great things that directors get to do, is help build an ensemble. But getting in the room, I can't tell you how many actors approach me and say, hey, I really want to audition for such and such, but I can't get through to Bernie Telsey or Tara Rubin. Can you help me out?
That was the next thing I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
Can you go directly to the director?
If you can't go directly to the director, go to a director that you know who knows the director. I've called directors for actor friends many times. If I believe in them and I think they're deserving of this opportunity to be seen, which most actors I know are, I'm happy to pick up the phone or pick up my email fingers and reach out. Directors appreciate that. If you're passing along someone that you believe in, that you think they may just be starting out, and we may not know the breadth and depth of their talent yet, but they've got good work habits. They're well disciplined. They work hard, they show up on time, and they show up early, and they're prepared. That means a lot, particularly if you're casting a big cast. People will sometimes call the smaller roles, which there are no such things, as we know. You need those kind of dutiful, committed people. So I've never had directors really push back on that. I've called casting directors too. And look,
you've called casting director as an actor or as a director?
Well, as a director, saying, I'd like you to see this young actor. I think he's got something. And I don't know if you're going to be able to necessarily see him with the director there, but I think you should see him or her.
Right.
And, I've worked with actors on their pieces as a friend. And then that also helps me then be able to speak to them when I'm talking to casting directors. And I only do it with casting directors that I know and that I've worked with a long time, like Will Cantler or Bernie, that I've worked with for 21 years, so, and they know I don't make those calls lightly.
Right.
But, there are some scary stories. I worked for MTM Productions when I was in college. It was when they were doing Cheers and St. Elsewhere and Hill Street Blues. And it was the summer that they had just fired Stephen Bochco, the creator of Hill Street.
Ouch.
And I was an intern. I was delivering the mail. Oh, Mary Tyler Moore was filming a movie called Nothing in Common with Christine Lottie. That was very exciting because I'm crazy about Mary, of course. Anyway, that summer, I worked in the casting office. And over a 2.5-month period, I outlived 4 casting directors. So by the time April Webster got there, I was showing her how it works at Hill Street. And but one day I was covering the phones at lunch, and actors were coming in, many of whom I had seen on stage back east. And they would drop off their resumes and headshots. And April would come back in the door for a lunch. I said, "Hi, April, these resumes and headshots came in." And there were like 12 or 15. She stood there at the reception desk and went, tossing almost every resume and headshot into the trash can. And then she took like 2 or 3 out of the whole stack. And then she went, "Thanks." And she went to her office. Now, she was under enormous pressure because they fired Bochco and no one really knew what they were doing. And the Tinkers, Grant and Sons were, it was a little bit of a mess. So she was working very hard. So late that night, about 7 o'clock, I went to her office and I said, "April, can I ask you a question?" She was watching past seasons of Hill Street trying to catch up. She said, "Yeah, well, what?" I said, "When I handed you those headshots and resumes, how did you go through them so quickly? And when you kept some and threw some in the trash?" And she said, "Oh, I was looking at the agents."
What?
Yeah. Now, listen, April Webster's a wonderful lady and a terrific casting director. But I was in college then, and I was still studying, I thought, to be an actor. But when I heard that, I just thought, that's too scary for me. I don't know that I'm talented enough to overcome that kind of screening, because that really hurt to the core. Because, there were a few people that had come in that I had mentioned I'd seen them on stage, and I don't know what agent they had or didn't have. But so that's a reality that just exists out there. And
that's, I think, every actor's fear.
Sure.
That their headshot has just gone instantly into the garbage, and they don't know if anybody knows they exist. They've done this mass mailing or they've done all their submissions, but they don't even know if it's landed anywhere.
Well, and I shared that story after beginning with the positivity stories or anecdotes, because I want to affirm people's reality. I mean, it's a tough business.
It is.
I think sometimes, although I don't know I could really be doing anything else but this, sometimes I think I am a little crazy to have taken the leap into showbiz.
Well, we all are. I mean, you have to be in order to jump in there.
And when you hear examples like this, if you still say, "I must have to do this, determined, can't do anything," then, of course, that's where you need to be. So I've also helped people meet agents. They've gotten agents. It's nice when that happens.
Rewarding,
and also I think it's part of our jobs. I mean, I'm 54 now. I'm mid-career or midlife crisis, whichever one you want to accept. But whichever day whatever side of the bed I'm getting out on that day. But I do believe when you're at that stage, it's important that you're looking back as much as you're looking forward. You're hopefully looking forward to your next project, but you're also looking back to the younger generation that's coming up behind you.
And trying to help them.
Absolutely, because people helped you.
Right.
And that makes the circle.
Right.
All of this karmic stuff is really important in the theater, I think.
I think you're right.
And I know less about, I've directed 2 movies. I love doing that. I think it's a little tougher, a little bit colder in theater and film.
Theater than
excuse me, and then in film and television. I meant film and television than it is in theater. I think that's partly because of the form of it. Theater is, you show up every night, 8 times a week, and you're there live, 3-dimensional. Right. And celluloid, you've shot it, and then your image is there, but you're not. You see what I mean? And
it's a very different muscle.
Yeah, I think it becomes transactional.
Ah, interesting.
That's the other thing. It's great to write your casting directors and playwrights you admire and producers that you admire, but make sure that every contact is not always transactional. I mean, it shouldn't. And I share that, not thinking that, your listeners are Machiavellian and only plotting their next ambitious move. But I had someone tell me that once. Actually, it wasn't even that long ago, and I thought, well, it was a kind of a PR strategist who happened to be advising us on an out-of-town production of a play that, may or may not have been moving to Broadway. In any event, and she was talking about the relationship with a certain critic. And I just thought that was such great advice. And in my heart and body, I did believe that. I recognized what she was saying. But she said it so succinctly. And I think that's true for young actors, too.
Yeah. It's a community, and you're building relationships. It's really a business about relationships in a lot of ways.
And, I tell you, I can't, if you're not getting hired, and you're not either getting in the room to audition, I can't tell you how many actors literally have written their own material and have created their own show and by damn just gone out there and done it and been discovered that way. Right. Or, written a screenplay and put themselves, listen, it takes a lot of chutzpah.
It does.
But it's a certain path of doing it.
Right, it is. On that note, let's take a break and hear from our sponsor, and we'll be right back with Michael Wilson.
Looking for the perfect monologue that will nail your next audition? Need something right away? Need a fresh perspective? Monologues2go.com is your one-stop shop for audition material. We understand actors' needs because we've been in your shoes. We know the importance of finding the perfect piece that fits like it was made for you. Pick your favorite monologues and download them instantly. It's that easy. Think of us like a takeout menu, only a whole lot more fun. We're fresh, fast, hot, and delivered to you in seconds. Monologues2go.com. Original monologues that work.
And we are back with the wonderful Michael Wilson. Michael, I want to talk to you a little about headshots and resumes. Mm-hmm. What is it that you're looking for on a headshot and a resume? How important is the headshot? Does it have to be spectacular and the eyes have to be perfect and the hair has to be groomed and all of the things actors obsess about? How important is it you on a good day, or is it really, it has to jump off the page because there are so many other actors on that table?
All right. This is a kind of yes and no response to what you're asking. I'm going to say yes, it's the headshot and resume is very important because, first of all, you don't have that many materials that you're giving and presenting to a prospective director or producer that might hire you, a casting director. You have yourself, and then when you leave the room, unless they filmed you only have your picture and your resume. And I cannot tell you how many times, especially me, I'm a Libra, and I turn those headshots and resumes over and over, and I study them, I stare at their face. I love putting them beside other actors because I love imagining what the company is going to look like. If this is a ginger-headed guy with the blonde-headed girl and the dark African-American woman here and the Latino Asian over, what is that company? How do they contrast and complement one another? So get a good picture. It doesn't have to be, airbrushed and all of that, but make yourself look good. Just present yourself well. And it can be a happy shot. It can be it could be a more serious shot. I don't necessarily gravitate towards happy or towards John Barrymore.
But it has to have essence.
Yeah, I just think you want to give it an intention.
Right.
Right. So, and Brian Hutchinson, for example, is an actor that also, he takes headshots. And I think that's interesting. He's a photographer, but he's also an actor. So he really understands what you're looking for.
Right.
And, Brian's got a big career. He just did, Boys in the Band on Broadway. He does headshots because he loves doing them and he loves helping other actors. I think it's, important to go with someone that really loves actors.
Yes.
So then the resume, again, make yourself look good. Don't have typos. I mean, just, do prove it.
People really have typos?
Oh, my Lord, yes.
Oh, my gosh.
But you also, I think it's interesting, if you don't put where you're from, I'm going to ask you anyway. Definitely where you went to school. It doesn't matter if you have an advanced degrees. It doesn't even necessarily matter if you have a Bachelor of Arts degree. But I like to know where you've trained or where you were educated.
So listing studios is important,
yeah,
especially if you don't have a BA or a BFA.
Right. But if you do have a BA, sometimes I find that interesting that you decided to go to Johns Hopkins and do the Great Book series, and you've not really studied acting that much. Mm-hmm. But you might have a natural gift, and I know also you have a serious, curious mind.
Right.
Because you went to that school. I also love seeing other directors who you've worked with. So I like it when you put the director on there because it lets me know kind of what your body of work is. It also gives me quick people that I can call just to check you out. And we do that. Not, I get called all the time, and I do sometimes make calls. Although if I see like Doug Hughes, or Tommy Kail, I kind of know that you have a good relationship.
Yes.
I probably don't necessarily even need to call that person, but it depends on, what the role is and everything else. But they're your tools. They're great ways to sell yourself. Don't overstress about them, but love them, because it's a way of loving yourself.
Right. Okay. And two things.
Yeah.
How important are the houses where you've performed, or the different, this Lort Theater or that theater, the quality of the reputation of the place?
I would say as you advance and you become, moving from ingenue or young leading man, or, you're moving into your character actor years, by the time you're in your middle years, like I am in my 50s, I might start to matter a bit more, because I'm looking to see if you've been picked up by some of the more major houses, so to speak. But for the most part, particularly when you're starting out and even deep into your career, I'm interested more in what projects you're doing, what plays you're doing, what roles you're doing. Are you doing Uncle Vanya? Are you playing Elena? Are you playing Sonia? That's going to tell me more about you than whether you did it at the Guthrie or whether you did it at the Ohio Street Theater downtown.
Right.
Or at the Kitchen. I'm not a snob that way.
Okay. And what if I don't have really many credits and I'm just starting out? I've just gotten out of NYU and I've done Showcase A and Showcase B, and
even Showcase A and Showcase B is going to tell me, oh, Showcase A was a new place. They like doing new plays and they have some experience doing it, and that interests them, and they maybe already have some muscles there. Our Showcase B was Little Night Music, and so they have some capacity with Sondheim and language. They can sing very fast and clear. So
it informs you.
It definitely informs me, and it shows, again, it's revealing more about you, what you were curious in. And look, when you're just starting out, I'm not expecting you to have a lot of credits.
Right. What is important in the special skills area?
I love putting music in the productions I make with others. And so I love seeing if you can play guitar, if you can play harmonica. I love seeing if you danced a little bit. I like knowing if you have fluency in other languages, because, oftentimes plays have convergence of languages happening. I say go for it. If you can juggle, let me know that. I might suddenly have you juggling on stage. I think it's a good thing. Don't list them if you don't really have proficiency.
So
unless you have some piano, say, like I can do some keyboard. I could maybe pick that up in a rehearsal process.
Right.
I can't tell you how many young actors I've had them learn guitar in a 4-week process. It drives John Gramado, the composer, crazy, but I love live playing on stage.
In my early career, I went to an audition, and it was for a musical review, and they were doing a scene from Cabaret, and they said, who plays an instrument? And my hand shot up, and I said, I play clarinet. And they said, oh, we were hoping for saxophone. I said, oh, I double on sax. I got cast.
And you did.
And I rehearsed myself. You can't believe I borrowed a baritone sax, and I played that thing like crazy for a month or so until it was time. And then they said, where's your clarinet?
No.
And I ended up playing clarinet.
Because they had solved the sax a different way. And
they didn't.
And they wanted you on the
care.
reed.
In the end, they were just like, clarinet's fine.
Isn't that great that you were in Cabaret? What a fantastic show.
Oh, it was wonderful. I wasn't in the whole production. It was a musical review, and we did a section
right.
that was Cabaret, but it was beautiful.
Here's another little trick I don't know. I say it's a trick, but to me, it's a secret of our art form. When you're preparing your audition, like right now when we're doing this Mueller investigation and they keep saying follow the money, follow the love in your play, or scene, or monologue that you're preparing. And if you follow the love that character has, the love that character has lost, the love that character is seeking, I'm telling you, if you do that, you're going to tap into something really beautiful. And most plays are about that.
Which brings us to what we were talking about on our break, making choices for the audition. When you have the audition script, when you have those sides,
yep,
making strong choices.
I'm from the school of thought that I love actors coming in who have really thought about their character, the story, and they've made big, bold, brave choices. It may be completely opposite as to how I see the play or how I was imagining the play, Sometimes I've had actors really show me a thing or two and think, my goodness, I haven't really thoroughly considered this work. Look at what they just revealed to me. But more importantly, I just love seeing actors confidently, boldly go for something. And you know what? If it's not right, and what is right, that's a whole
nother conversation.
Well, yeah. But if it's not what necessarily I'm looking for, I'll give you an adjustment. But I will respect you so much for
making a choice
and staying with it and committing to it, rather than coming in and just learning your lines. Or, in fact, don't always worry about learning the lines. It can be impressive if you've learned the lines and you're making your choices.
When you say learn the lines, you mean you come into the audition off book?
Yeah, a lot of actors do now. But then sometimes that can distract them because they're so worried about. And I'll say, just, you know what, pick up the page. It's okay. If you have to look down a little bit, it's, you're just starting in a process. I think it's ridiculous to require actors to be off book for an audition like that, unless it's, deep into callbacks or something.
Right. By the time you're on your second callback or your third callback.
I mean, it's helpful, I think, for you, the actor, because it's going to free you up. But if it's going to make it about the technical way of remembering the next word, instead of getting to play fully your intention, I say carry the page. Also, here's another thing I've discovered. Many wonderful actors are dyslexic.
I know.
I cannot tell you how many. I mean, it's very interesting and strange to me. But it's when I hear, I'm sorry, I don't read very well. I'm like, oh boy, I bet she's going to be great. So don't think it's an affliction. James Earl Jones stuttered forever, and he was also didn't speak because he was so shy, painfully shy as a child. And I've worked with him a few times now, and there are times when he gets very excited or maybe he's chasing a thought, chasing an idea, he can still move into that old stutter. And he is arguably the most gravitas and recognizable voice in the English language.
Yes.
From Darth Vader to CNN. So I just share that with you because we're all vulnerable, and that vulnerability is what makes us distinct and special.
Yes.
That's your gift.
It really is.
It is. And it is, and then you help us create empathy. And that's the whole idea behind what we do, right?
Right. So speaking of creating empathy, one last question for you. When an actor does not get cast, it's heartbreaking for the actor, of course, because every actor goes in and wants to book the role and maybe needs to make rent and really needs it as a job, but also just because we're actors because we love what we do. When an actor doesn't get the role, does that mean they did a bad audition? Does that mean you'll never look at them again? What does that mean?
It means there's only one role, and it means also, as I was speaking earlier, there may have already been a dark-headed male that was cast in some other role, and you don't want two of you on stage, even if you can do wigs and dye hair or whatever. You just don't know the arcane reason that you might not have been cast. But when it comes down so close like that, I cannot tell you how I get pained not seeing this talented actor get cast. And I have on many occasions said, please tell the agent or manager how wonderful I think this actor is and how I am very much regretting that I'm not going to have the experience of working with them on this project, but I'm going to be looking for them on a future project. I have also sometimes contacted the actor directly. I've asked if I could do that because I think it's important that they know how well that they did, and that it really, and this is something we all need to remember, it's not always about you. I mean, or something that you can, that's in your control.
So you just move on, you move forward, and you know that director, you in this case, now knows, if I'm the actress.
Yes.
Now you know my work. Now you know who I am.
And you're going to be looking for that actor. And I also have to say, you should celebrate your successes. If you get a callback, that's fantastic. If you get a second callback and it's down now between you and maybe one or two others, it's like when people get nominated for a Tony Award. You've already won. You've already won just by being nominated.
Right.
It's who wins that night is such about marketing and so many other things. I mean, I'm not saying it's not nice to win that as well, but important when you have a spasm of success to really embrace it.
And celebrate.
Yeah, celebrate your success in this crazy, haphazard, steep sled slope of a business, you know.
Yeah.
But boy, are there not ecstatic and revelatory highs. And those high Sierras that we may go on some soul-searching journey like Hannah's Jelks or Nano from Night of the Iguana. I just think about that because of James Earl. What a gift to be in the theater.
It is.
It is.
And on that wonderful note, I thank you so much, Michael Wilson. Let's do this again.
I'd love to.
You have been listening to The Craft and Biz of Acting. I'm Joyce Story. Until next time, break a leg.
Thanks for tuning in to The Craft and Biz of Acting. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode, and while you're at it, please leave us a rating and a review and share our show with your friends. We're building a supportive and educational community, and we want you to be a part of it. Tune in every week for more helpful insights and tools for honing your craft and booking your next gig. Until next time, break a leg.